Dear all, welcome to the class of International Economics. Today we are moving to the second module of our International Economics, that is International Trade Theories. There are different trade theories. You might have heard some of the trade theories or you might have read about it. So before going to the trade theory, let me ask you, what is the need of a trade theory? Why we are using these trade theories? Different economists has given answer to this. Some of the economists said that all the countries will have different kind of economic or the trade atmosphere, and also that policies might be different and trade relationship might be different. Some of the trade policies like tariff, non-tariff barriers, all the things might be different. So there is always a possibility to check what kind of trade relation will be beneficial or will be gainful for both parties. So ultimately the trade theories try to explain why there is a possibility of mutual gain through the trade. So this was especially the idea of classicals. They tried to explain this on the basis of comparative advantage. But after that, some of the people like Bertin Ohlin, they said that the factor endowment or the resource endowment of different countries are different. So there is always a question how the countries can get mutual gain through the trade by using different combination of factors of production. So like this, there are different views on this, why there is a need of trade. So by considering various factors, how one country can gain through the trade, this is the question which answered by most of the trade theories. Okay, so as you know, there are different school of thoughts and different trade theories. Firstly, there are pre-classical or mercantilist ideas on trade, and secondly, there are classical theories of trade. Thirdly, neoclassical theories of trade. Then modern approach, then finally a recent development in trade theory. So these all are the major trade theories. We cannot say that all are trade theories because the pre-classical or mercantilist, it was a policy, not a theory. So we cannot say that it is a theory. So if you are talking about the trade theory, so we can say that the first trade theories are comparative advantage theories. It was developed by the classicals. Comparative advantage theories are Adam Smith's theory of absolute advantage, Ricardo's theory, then after that the neoclassical version of this comparative advantage that is developed by Heberler. So these all were the first theories chronologically, if we say. But before the classicals, there was the mercantilist school of thought, or the mercantilist economist has developed some of the concepts related to the international trade. So firstly we will deal with the mercantilist views on international trade, then we will go to the classical trade theories. So today in this lecture we want to discuss three major important parts. Firstly, what is mercantilism? Secondly, what are their contributions? What are the limitations of mercantilist approach? Okay. So what is mercantilism? Firstly, from the word itself, mercantilism, that word means? That mercantilism, that word was developed from the Latin word mercari, means to run a trade. So the mercantilism is always related with the trade. So they were more focused on international trade, or between the countries. And this mercantilism, these ideas were existed in the Europe, especially in 16th to 18th century. So it was there in the Europe, not all the part of the world. And we cannot say that it exactly it is a contribution of some of the economists, but there are some merchants, bankers, government officials, and even philosophers who contributed to this idea of mercantilism. And it was existed in the countries like Portugal, France, Spain, Netherlands, and Great Britain. So these were the countries where the mercantilism or the idea of mercantilism existed. And the mercantilist ideas, it was based on one major concept, that is Bullianism. Bullianism. What is Bullianism? Bullianism is an economic theory that defines the wealth by the amount of precious metals owned. So your wealth or my wealth, it is measured on the basis of the metals or the coins which I have. Suppose I have more gold coin, then I'll be rich. If some other person, he doesn't have any gold coin or any other silver or any other coin, then he is a very poor person. So Bullianism means your wealth is determined according to your holding of your coins. So if you hold more coins, then you are rich. So this is the case of a country also. If one country is holding more coins, more bullions, then this concept says that they are very rich. And also in this case, in this Bullianism or the mercantilism, we can say there were governmental control over the use and exchange of precious metals. So I cannot use this precious metal in any way which I want, because there will be some kind of restrictions. If I want to import some of the products, it may not be possible because the government will have some kind of restrictions for this. Okay, so this is, mercantilism is based on Bullianism. Accumulating, holding more gold coins or any other coins, silver coins. This was the main idea of mercantilism. So it was promoting one-way trade relationship, one-way trade with the colonies. So this mercantilism is also connected with colonialism. Some of the countries like Portugal and Great Britain, they were always trying to create some of the colonies and utilize, or we can say loot these colonies for their purpose. And India was also the colony of Great Britain. So what the Britishers have done, they were exactly looting India for their own purpose. So how was the trade relationship with the colony? We, our Indians, were exporting all our raw materials to Britain. And what Britain were doing? Britain were exporting all the manufactured products or industrial products to us. So this were the trade relationship, right? So in the same case, in the mercantilism also, there will be trade relationship with the mother country with the colonies. So colonies will export the raw materials, and the mother country will export the industrialized products or manufactured products to the colonies. But here you should understand that there is no possibility of trade relationship between the colonies. No way. So that's why it is said that mercantilism is, it might be a theoretical background of colonialism. That's why in these countries, this theory was very famous, and they were promoting this theory. So this is a theory or policy, we can say, not exactly a theory. So this is policy, not theory. So I mean, we can check what were the different views of mercantilists on international trade or foreign trade. So it is a trade policy rather than a trade theory. Then this also explains how to make a foreign trade as a source of economic power of the nations. So how one country can get benefit through the trade. This this was the question. They have made two policies. Firstly, a country should export the industrial goods and import only primary goods, not the manufactured goods. So a country should export industrial goods and import primary products. Like I said, the case of India, we were trying to export the raw materials from here to to Britain, but after making some of the products, they were exporting this the same product in different manner to India. So this was the one concept, one idea. Then secondly, a country must export more than its import to ensure high trade surplus. A country wants trade surplus always, not trade deficit. Okay, what is trade deficit? If our export is more than import, then we will say that it is a trade surplus. But if our import is more, then we will say that we have trade deficit. So mercantilists said that we always should have trade surplus, export more. So these were the main core ideas of mercantilism. So do you know who who were the famous economists in mercantilist school of thought? One very important famous person, that was Thomas Mann. He was born in 1571. He said that a trade surplus determines the wealth and prosperity of a nation. So always one country should country should try for trade surplus. Ultimately it will determine the wealth and prosperity of a nation. Okay, so the trade surplus should accumulate in the form of bullion, as we said earlier, gold or silver or any other metal coins. So what is the purpose of trade? Trade means getting or accumulating more gold or silver. So that can be used for the it will be used for the wealth of a nation. So it will lead to the more prosperous situation in a nation. This was the idea of mercantilism. And they were also talking of zero-sum game. What is zero-sum game? Zero-sum game means there is no any possibility of mutual gain. That is zero-sum game. If you have done game theory, you know what is zero-sum game. Let me explain with an example. Suppose I am making a trade relationship with one person in US. So in that case, I am gaining through the trade. Suppose I am gaining $10 through an export, $10 plus. I am getting $10 plus. What about that person? Actually, the person, those who are importing my product, he is losing $10. So there is a loss of $10. Then what will be the net benefit? 10 plus is also there, 10 minus is also there. Then ultimately, if we are adding both, we will be getting 0. So I have a gain of $10, but at the same time other person has a loss of $10. So in ultimate gain is 0. That's why we can say that it is a zero-sum game. I'll tell you another example. I am making the trade relationship with same person. I am gaining $10 plus, and he also gaining $10. Then what will be the total gain? It will be $20 plus, right? $20 plus. So this is the idea of mutual gain. So this is a positive sum game because we have a positive number 20 here. That's why we can say that it is a positive sum game. But in the first case, net gain were 0. In that case, we can say that it is a zero sum game. So the mercantilists always talked about zero sum game. It means that the gain of one person will be always through the loss of one another person. This was the idea. Gain of one person will be always through the loss of one another person. So there is no any possibility of mutual gain. This was the idea of mercantilist. So this is the book of which is written by Thomas Mann, England's Treasure by Foreign Trade. Okay, so this was the famous book which is written by Thomas Mann. So these are the ideas of this is very small idea because it is not a theory. It is very simple ideas. It was based on two things. One, it is one country should export more and import less. There should be trade surplus always. Then what about the second one? Or a country should export industrial products and import the raw materials. And in that by using these techniques or policy, one country should try to accumulate the gold and silver or the bullions. Maximum they should try to accumulate these all coins, and it will lead to make a prosperous situation in one country. These were the ideas of mercantilist economists. So we can check what were the limitations of these ideas. Firstly, it is self-contradictory. Why it is self-contradictory? This is, Adam Smith has criticized this mercantilist on this idea. It is self-contradictory. If all nations followed this policy, there would be neither trade there would be neither trade surplus nor trade itself. What we say, all the countries should export industrial products and import raw materials. If all the countries are trying for this, how the trade is possible? Because all the countries are trying to export the industrial products, but there is no any person who import this product, then how the trade is possible? And always the country wants to import the raw materials, but there is no any country who try to export these raw materials. Then it's self-contradictory. If all the countries are trying to follow these two rules, there won't be trade and even no trade surplus. This was the idea of Adam Smith. Secondly, the countries gain at the cost of others. I said the example. If I am gaining $10, it will be at the loss of $10 of one another person. Suppose that the losing countries restrict the trade, and it will lead to reduce the prospects of trade. Will it be ready if I am gaining $10 always, and if one person from US is losing $10? Is there any chance for a long run relationship with me and he? Because he won't be ready for trade, because he always lost and I am always gaining. So if one country is gaining at the cost of others or at the loss of others, the trade also will not be happen. Trade will not happen in the future days. So this is also another limitation. Finally, they didn't talk about the why trade is gainful. They said it is a zero-sum game. So if I am gaining, there will be another, there will be loss for one another person. So there is not any possibility of mutual gain. $10 I am also gaining, he also gaining. There is not any possibility for that. So this is another limitation of of mercantilist ideas on trade. I mean, in the future, when we are dealing with the classical and other theories, you will understand how there is a possibility of mutual gain, and how there is a possibility of positive sum gain. I am not explaining now that. Okay, so these are the limitations of mercantilist ideas or mercantilist views. So for the reference purpose, you can follow two books. Firstly, Dian, then secondly, Dominic Salvatore. I hope this concept is very clear. Let me brief you. This is not a theory, but it is a concept or policy, we can say. One country can, and it is also connected with colonialism. Okay, or else we can say that it is a theoretical background for colonialism. Okay, thank you all. Thank you very much. We will see in the next video.